Okay.
ഓം ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണ ശരണം മമ ഗോപികാ ജീവനസ്മരണം ഗോവിന്ദ ഗോവിന്ദ. സദ്ഗുരുനാഥ് മഹാരാജ് കി ജയ്. ശുക്ലാംബരധരം വിഷ്ണും ശശിവർണം ചതുർഭുജം പ്രസന്നവദനം ധ്യായേ സർവവിഘ്നോപശാന്തയേ. നമോ നമഃ സദ്ഗുരുഭ്യോ നമോ നമഃ. നമോ നമഃ സദ്ഗുരുഭ്യോ നമോ നമഃ. സച്ചിദാനന്ദരൂപായ വിശ്വോത്പത്യാദിഹേതവേ താപത്രയ വിനാശായ ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണായ വയം നമഃ. യം പ്രവ്രജന്തപനുപേതമപേതകൃത്യം ദൈവായനോ വിരഹകാതര ആജുഹാവ. പുത്രേതി തന്മയതയാ തരവോഭിനേതുഃ തം സർവഭൂതഹൃദയം മുനിമാനതോസ്മി. യസ്സാനുഭാവമഖില ശ്രുതിസാരമേകം അധ്യാത്മദീപമതിഥിതീർഷതാം തമോന്തം സംസാരിണാം കരുണയാഹ പുരാണഗുഹ്യം തം വ്യാസസൂനുമുപയാമി ഗുരും മുനീനാം. യോഗീന്ദ്രായ നമസ്തസ്മൈ ശുഗായ ബ്രഹ്മരൂപിണേ സംസാരസർപ്പദഷ്ടം യോ വിഷ്ണുരാധമമുചത് കാലവ്യാളമുഖഗ്രാസ ത്രാസനിർനാശഹേതവേ ശ്രീമദ് ഭാഗവതം ശാസ്ത്രം കലോകീരേണ ഭാഷിതം. ഏതസ്മാദപരം കിഞ്ചിത് മനഃശുദ്ധേന വിദ്യതേ ജന്മാന്തരേത് ഭവേത് പുണ്യം തഥാ ഭാഗവതം ലഭേത്. ജ്ഞാനവൈരാഗ്യസമ്പൂർണാൻ ഹരിഭക്തിപരായണാൻ പൂർവാചാര്യാദഹം വന്ദേ സമ്പ്രദായ പ്രവർത്തകാൻ. ഭഗവന്നാമ സാമ്രാജ്യ ലക്ഷ്മീ സർവസ്വവിഗ്രഹം ശ്രീമദ് ബോധേന്ദ്രയോഗീന്ദ്ര ദേശികേന്ദ്രമുപാസ്മഹേ. കലികാലോചിതം ധർമ്മം നാമ സങ്കീർത്തനാത്മകം നിർണേതമവതീർണം തം പ്രേമികം സദ്ഗുരും ഭജേ. ഹരേ രാമേതി കൃഷ്ണേതി നാമ സങ്കീർത്തനം സദാ ലോകക്ഷേമായ കുർവന്തം പ്രേമികം സദ്ഗുരും ഭജേ. ജന്മാദ്യസ്യ യതോന്മയാദിതരതശ്ചർത്തേഷ വിജ്ഞസ്വരാട് തേനേ ബ്രഹ്മഹൃദായ ആദികവയേ മുഹ്യന്തി യത്സൂരയഃ. തേജോ വാരിമൃതാം യഥാ വിനിമയോ യത്ര സർഗോ മൃഷാ ധാംനാ സേന സദാ നിരസ്തകുഹകം സത്യം പരം ധീമഹി. ധർമ്മപ്രോചിതകൈതവോത്ര പരമോ നിർമ്മത്സരാണാം സദാ വേദ്യം വാസ്തവമസ്ത്രവസ്തു ശിവദം താപത്രയോന്മൂലനം. ശ്രീമദ്ഭാഗവതേ മഹാമുനികൃതേ കിം വാ പരേരീശ്വരഃ സദ്യോ ഹൃദ്യവരുദ്ധ്യതേത്ര കൃതിഭിഃ ശുശ്രൂഷിഭിः തത്ക്ഷണാത്. നിഗമകൽപതരോർഗളിതം ഫലം ശുഗമുഖാദമൃതദ്രവസംയുതം പിബത ഭാഗവതം രസമാലയം മുഹുരഘോ രസികാ ഭുവി ഭാവുകാഃ. നാരായണം നമസ്കൃത്യ നരം ചൈവ നരോത്തമം ദേവീം സരസ്വതീം വ്യാസം തതോ ജയമുദീരയേത്. ശ്രീമദ്ഭാഗവതാഖ്യോയം പ്രത്യക്ഷ കൃഷ്ണ ഏവ ഹി സ്വീകൃതോऽസി മയാ നാഥ മുക്ത്യർത്ഥം ഭവസാഗരേ. മനോരഥോ മദീയോയം സബലഃ സർവദാ ത്വയാ നിർവിഘ്നേനൈവ കർത്തവ്യോ ദാസോഹം തവ കേശവ. ശ്രീഹരയേ നമഃ ശ്രീഹരയേ നമഃ ശ്രീഹരയേ നമഃ. ഗോപികാ ജീവനസ്മരണം ഗോവിന്ദ ഗോവിന്ദ. സദ്ഗുരുനാഥ് മഹാരാജ് കി ജയ്.
Thank you, Anaji. Okay, so we'll start from the review from 20, from stanzas 23, right? Okay. Madhu, you can do half, and Jay Shri Sriram, you can do one half. So let's just see how many are there. Madhu, 1 second. 23. You can do from 23 to the end, Madhu, the end of that chapter, okay?
Okay. Shri Hare Namaha. Bhrituruvaच varan vipudvatvaradeshvarat pudah kadam vrinite gunavikriyatmanam yenaraganam abhisandidehinam tanisha kaivalyabade vrinena cha nakamayena न कामयेनाद तदभ्यगं क्वचित् न यत्र युष्मच्चरणाम्बुजासवः मगत्तमान्तर्हृदयान्मुगच्युतो विदत्स्वकर्णायुधमीश मे वरः स उत्तमश्लोकमगन्मुगच्युतो भवत्पदाम्बोजसुधागणानिलः स्मृतिं पुनर्विस्मृततत्त्ववर्त्मनां योगिनां नो विदर्त्यलम्बरैः
Last word. Vitaratyalambharaihi.
Okay. विदरत्यलम्बरैः यशस्सिवं सुस्रव आर्यसङ्गमे यदृच्छया शोभशृणोति देशकृत् कथं गुणज्ञो विरमेत् विना पशुं श्रीर्यत्प्रवव्रे गुणसङ्ग्रहे च या अदा भजे त्वा किल पुरुषोत्तमं गुणालयं पद्मकरेव लालसः अव्यावयोर्येकपदिष्कृतो कलिः न स्यात् कृत्वच्चरणैकदानयोः जगज्जनन्यां जगदीश वैशसं स्यादेव यत्कर्मणि न समीहितं करोषि युरुदीनवत्सलः स्वयेव धिष्णेभिरदस्य किं तया भजन्त्यदत्त्वामदयेव साधवो व्युदस्तमाया गुणविप्रमोदयं स्मरणाद्रुदे सदां निमित्तमन्यद्भगवन्न विद्महे मन्ये गिरं ते जगदान् विमोहिनीं वरं वृणीष्वेति भजन्तमातयत् वाचानुदन्द्या यदि ते जनोसितः कथं पुनः कर्म करोति मोहितः त्वन्मायया जनयीश खण्डितो यदन्यदाशास्त्रिदात्मनो बुधः यदा शरेत् बालहितं पिता स्वयं तदा त्वं एवारसि नः समीहितुं मैत्रेय उवाच इत्यादिराजेन नुतः स विश्वदृक् दमागराजन्मयि भक्तिरस्तु ते दिष्ट्ये धीर्मयि ते कृतायया मायां मदीयां तरति स्म तुज्यजाम् तत्त्वं गुरुमया दृष्टम् अप्रमत्त प्रजापते मदादेशकरो लोकः सर्वत्राप्नोति शोभनम् मैत्रेय उवाच इति वैन्यस्य राजर्षेः प्रतिनन्द्यार्थवचः भूजितो नुगृहीत्वैनं कन्दुं चक्रे च्युतो मतिम् देवर्षि पितृगन्धर्वसिद्धचारणपन्नकाः गिन्नर अप्सरसो मर्त्याः ककाभूतान्यनेकशः यज्ञेश्वरधिया राज्ञा वाक्वित्ताञ्जलिभक्तितः सभाजिता ययुः सर्वे वैकुण्ठानुगतास्ततः भगवानभिराजर्षेः शोभात्यायस्य चाच्युतः अरण्यव मनोमुष्य स्वधाम प्रत्यबध्यत अदृष्टाय नमस्कृत्य नृपः सन्दर्शितात्मने अव्यक्ताय च देवानां देवाय स्वपुरं ययौ इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे विंशोऽध्यायः श्री हरये नमः एकं
Jayashree is doing that.
सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। अद एकविंशोऽध्यायः। मैत्रेय उवाच मौक्तिकैः कुसुमस्रग्भिः दुकूलैः स्वर्णतोरणैः महासुरबिभिर्दूपैः मण्डितं तत्र तत्र वै चन्दना गुरुदोर्यात्र रत्या चत्वरमार्गवत् पुष्पाशदफलैस्तोक्मैः लाजैरर्चिभिरर्चितं स्वरुन्दैः कदलीस्तम्भैः भूगबोधैः परिष्कृतं तरुपल्लवमालाभिः सर्वतः समलङ्कृतं प्रजास्तं दीपबलिभिः सम्पृदाशेषमङ्गलैः अबीयुर्मृष्टकन्याश्च मृष्टकुण्डलमण्डिताः शङ्खतुन्दुभिघोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण सत्विजां विश्वेशभवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो कदस्मयः
Manjushri, second line, first word, Vivesha.
Oh, sorry, Vishvesha. Vivesha Bhavanam Viraha Bhujidah Pujayamasa Tatra Tatra Mahayashaha Pauranjana Padapstam Pauranjana Oh,
Pauranjana.
पौराञ्जानपदांस्तां प्रीदः प्रियवरप्रदः स एवम् आदिन्य नवत्यचेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शावनिमण्डलं यशः स्फीतं निदायारुरुहे परं पदं सूद உத்தாச்சசன் போட்டிருக்கேன் இல்ல
That must be a typo mistake. It's Suta
Oh,
Uvacha only.
okay. Suda uvacha tadhadirajasya yasho vijrumbitam gunair aseshai gunavat sabhajitam shatta mahabhagavadas bhagavat sadaspate कौशारविं प्राह कृणन्तमर्चयन् विदुरौवाच शोभिषिक्तः प्रदुर्विभ्रैः पृथुर्विभ्रैः लब्धाशेषसुरार्हणः बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं तेजो बाह्वोर्याभ्यां दुदोह काम् कोन्व्यस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो यद्विक्रमोच्चिष्टम् अशेषभूभाः लोकाः सबाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अत्याभितन्मे वद कर्मशुद्धम् मैत्रेय उवाच गङ्गा यमुनयोर्नद्योः अन्तराक्षेत्रम् आवसन् आरब्धानेव बुभुजे भोगान् पुण्यजिगासया सर्वत्रास्खलिदा देशः सप्तद्वीपैकदण्डदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणकुलात् अन्यत्राच्युतगोत्रदः एकदासीन्महाशतदीक्षा तत्र दिवौगसां समाजदो ब्रह्मर्षीणां च राजर्षीणां च सत्तम
The second line, first word, Samajo Brahmarshinam cha.
समाजो ब्रह्मर्षीणां च तस्मिन्नर्हत्सु सर्वेषु स्वर्चिदेषु यदार्हतः उद्दिदः सदसो मध्ये धाराणाम् उडुराडिव भ्रांशुः पीनायदभुजो करेक्टा
Yeah.
गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासः सुमुगः सौम्यः बीनांसः सुद्विजस्मितः व्यूढवक्षा बृहच्चरोणिः वलिवल्गुतलोदरः आवर्तनाभिर्ओजस्वी काञ्जनोरुरुदक्रभात् सूक्ष्मवक्रासिदस्तस्निग्धमूर्धजः कम्बुकन्दरः महादने दुगुलार् के
Dukula, just long. Dukula gray.
महादनो दुगुलार्क्ये परिदायो बवीय च वञ्चिदाशेषगात्रश्रीः नियमे न्यस्तभूषणः कृष्णाजिनतरः श्रीमान् कुशपाणिकृदोचितः शिशिरस्निग्धदाराक्षः समन्ततः ऊचीवान् इदम् ऊर्वीशः सदसं हर्षयन्निव चारुचित्रपदं लक्षणं मृष्टं
It's on the word Shlakshnam.
Oh, okay. चारुचित्रपदं श्लक्ष्णं मृष्टं गूढम् अविक्लवं सर्वेषाम् उपकारार्थं तदा अनुवदन्निव राजोवाच सभ्याश्रुणुद पत्रं वः साधवो इहा गदाः सत्सु जिज्ञासुभिर्धर्मम् आवेत्यं स्वमनीषितम् अहं तण्डधरो राजा प्रजानामिह योजितः रक्षिता वृत्तिदः स्वेषु सेदुषु स्थापिता पृथक् तस्य मेदत् अनुष्ठानात् ब्रह्मवादिनः लोकाः स्युः कामसन्दोहा करेक्टா
Sandoha ha. அங்க விசர்க்க இருக்கு.
लोकाः स्युः कामसन्दोहाः यस्य दुष्यति दुष्टतृक् य उत्तरेत्करं राजा प्रजाधर्मेष्व शिक्षयन् प्रजानां शमलं पुङ्क्ते भगं च स्वं जहादिशः तत्प्रजापर्तृपिण्डार्थं स्वार्थम् एवानसूयवः
Kuruta dhokshaja diyah.
गुरुदादोक्षज दियः दर्हि मेऽनुग्रह कृतः यूयं तत् अनुमोदत्वं पृथृते वर्ष यो मलाः कर्दुःशास्तुर् अनुज्ञादुः तुल्यं यत् प्रेत्य तत्फलम्.
Okay, we'll just continue with the meaning for the rest of this chapter. So just to take one step back a little bit, right? So in fourth canto, we first started with, the Daksha Charitram, right? That was one big thing that we saw. Then as we were then Dhruva Charitram, then that came. Then now we are seeing about Prithu Charitram. Prithu Charitram, it's going to end in 4.23, right? So that will come to an end. And then there is a Pauranjano Upakhyan that's going to come. That is the last part of the fourth canto, right? So four main topics in there. So in Prithu's Charitram, we saw first Brahma came, gave some instructions to Prithu. Then Mahavishnu came, he gave some instructions to Prithu. So he's received all of those things. So in this chapter, Prithu is sharing the same thing with his people. And then the next chapter is going to be where the Sanat Kumaras are going to come again, give him more knowledge. It's just filled with information and lecture, right, of what to do and what not to do. So this particular one, we saw how in the chapter beginning, Prithu, he gets the information from Nara, he stops at the 99th, then Bhagavan comes, gives him the instructions, he comes back, he's welcomed and all that, then he's ruling fine. Then one day he decides to conduct just one big yajna where everybody ends up coming, and then, then they talk about the description of Prithu, right, how his body, how he's looking and all of that stuff. And then before he starts the yajna, he's then addressing the people out there. So that's where we will start with the meaning today. So, he talks about a few things to everybody who's assembled. So first, he talks about karma, right, in some detail. So before that, the main thing what it says here is, see, when I talk, or many of us, we tell things based on what we have heard or what we have read. But in Prithu's case, it's like what he has already realized, right? So that is fundamentally different, right? If you already experienced something and you're sharing that with somebody, that means you know the core essence of what you have gone through, and there's more depth in it. So it says whatever Prithu is telling for right now is purely based on what he has experienced and what the knowledge he has actually gained, right? So first, he talks about the karma. He says that as a king, some of it we already seen before, right? He says as a king I have certain things I'm supposed to do, otherwise I should not be taking up that role. So it is my duty to perform it. And he says, however, whatever results are coming, because there are some rules of you do this karma, you get these things results. There are standard descriptions of that. But he said at the end of the day, it is all dependent on whatever Bhagavan decides to give. So there's no hard and fast rule. Sometimes things could be overridden, right, by what Bhagavan he wants. So he says you should always realize that it is all because of what Bhagavan wants and not something that is automatically going to come. The second thing he teaches for all of us, if you are a manager or if you are a head of a business or whatever, he says that whatever you do, and if your subordinate, like in the king's case, if a subordinate is doing a mistake or acts in a wrong way, and the king doesn't fix it, or you as a leader don't fix it, he says part of that bad karma also comes to you. So, for example, right, you are a manager, your subordinate is cheating, but you know he's cheating, and you do not fix the cheating, right? Now you also have a share of that bad karma that is going to come as a result of that, because you intentionally are overlooking it, even though you know. If you don't know about it, of course you're not going to get impacted, right? So he says as a king, because he has administrative responsibilities, if somebody is doing something bad, that's why even earlier on Parikshit, he tries to when this the Vaishya, the Shudra is hitting that cow and all that, Parikshit stops him and says that I need to punish you, because it's my responsibility. When I know you are doing something wrong, it is my responsibility to fix it, otherwise I also get a part of that karma, right? So he says here, so as a king, it is very important that I make sure you all go on the right path, because if I know you are going on the wrong path, then I also get a part of that negative karma. That's the first thing he says. Then the second thing he says, everybody who's present there, like there are demigods and yakshas, gandharvas, all of them present there. He says that you all should also advise people to do the right thing, because he says that there is an influence karma also, right? What that means is, if you are telling somebody, go do some charity, right? You go to this organization, you go do some charity. And then if that person is doing a charity because you are influencing that person to do a charity, then you again get a portion of that positive karma comes your way, because it's because of you that that person is actually going and doing that, right? So he's telling all the people assembled there is, tell people to do the right thing, tell people to follow the right path, because it's positive influence for you as well. You will also get some positive share out of that, right? And then he says something very important. He says that there are two ways. He says, according to the Shastras, that is one way he's going to say, then he's going to give some proof. He says, according to the Shastras, there must be somebody who has rules and guidelines about the distribution of karma, right? He says it's impossible that there is no rule. There has to be something, there is a rule, and there's somebody who's an owner. He says, how else is it possible that somebody is born very beautiful, somebody who's not born beautiful, somebody who's born in a very rich family, and somebody who's born in an extremely poor family, and somebody who has a lot of problems right from birth, and somebody who's not having problems of birth. He says nothing in this universe is random in nature, right? It's just that we don't know why something is happening, right? He says so it's 100% certain that there is this karma, there is a person who's dispersing the karma. Nobody can change the karma, right? But there's a person who's dispersing the karma, and that person is always there. It is said in Shastras. That is number one. And the second one, he says this through pramanam, through great personalities who also validated that. So he gives a list of people. He says that Manu, Swayambhu Manu has said that, Dhruva has said that, Priyavrata has said that. Then he also refers Prahlada and Bali here. Now the question comes is, we never saw Prahlada Charitram, right? That is going to come only in 6th canto. That is because necessarily in Bhagavatam, things don't go necessarily in a linear way according to the timeline, right? Like he's finishing off Swayambhuva Manu's lineage completely. Then he's going to start Priyavrata's lineage. So some of those things has already happened, like Hiranyakashipu Vadam has already happened by the time Prithu Charitram is happening from a timeline perspective, right? So he's referencing people like Prahlada, he's referencing people like Bali Maharaja, saying all of them, they are also pramanam of saying that karma will be dispersed according to what you are doing. There's no escaping that. Like, unless Bhagavan decides to write off your karma, right, like a financial person does, there's no escaping that. You are definitely going to do that. So he says, make sure you're doing the right one. And he says, although there are people like my own father, he says, like my own father Vena, who doesn't believe it, right? And then he ends up doing a lot of the adharmam, but everybody else has always validated that this thing happens. That's the next one. Then the final part of it, he talks about two people, right? He talks about the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, and there's a very clear definition in Bhagavatam, right, of who these are. Like we said that just because somebody is put punal or someone born in the lineage of a Brahmana, he doesn't become a Brahmana. So he talks about how the person who's truly understood the Vedas, right, who has given up all the sensory attractions and everything, who has control over the senses, not attached to all of these material things, that person is a true Brahmana, right? So he has knowledge of the Vedas. That's extremely important, and he's not getting distracted with other things. Then he says that person is a true Brahmana, and a true Vaishnava is a person for whom everything is Mahavishnu. So they don't see any difference between people, they don't see any difference between creatures, and they all see this Vaishnavas. He says those are the two right definitions, right, of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Now he says all of the people, the majority, even the king, he says, even the primary ruler has to always respect those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. This is extremely important because they are the highest in terms of the people who are closest, because they are not Vaishnava, they're not attached to anything else. They're always thinking about Mahavishnu, right? So for them, so Bhagavan, he's the closest. So he says, even a ruler like me or even common people, they have to always respect those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And he says, you could be a poor person, but if a Brahmana or a Vaishnava comes to your house, that means you are blessed compared to a rich person who might have a big mansion but doesn't invite a Brahmana or a Vaishnava into their house, right? So he's talking about the importance. Again, the saying that, and multiple things it's going to come right later on in Ambrish Upakyanam, as well as Bhagavan is closest to his most favorite devotees. So the most you pray or stay close to those greatest of devotees, that is more important than praying to Bhagavan itself. So he's recognizing that, right? So he talks about that in more detail of how you have to respect and how you have to do that. And he again says that all these things that people are doing, that you are doing of, doing Naivedyam to Bhagavan, you're putting stuff into the homam. He says Bhagavan doesn't need all of that, right? He doesn't care about eating, but it says that it's important for you to realize you're doing that because you want him to be a part of your life. That is number one, right? It's bringing some discipline into that. And second thing, even in the homam, it says na idam mama. It says this is not mine. When you're offering that, you actually say that in the homam, right? So which is saying that whatever I'm putting is not mine, it is yours. So I'm just giving what is yours to you, right? And then whatever is left, I'm going to partake, right? So he says all this is, he doesn't say none of this is wrong, but he says the purpose of it is to always realize that you have to offer all this to Bhagavan and none of this is yours. And you so he just goes on to describe some of those things. And at the end, he essentially summarizes all of these things, right, saying that stay close to the devotees and stay humble and humility, all of that. And then towards the end, everybody praises Prithu, saying that the important thing they say is the influence of Prithu on Vena, his own father. He says very similar to how Prahlada, even though Hiranyakashipu was so atrocious, and we're going to see that, right? How did he get liberated? He got liberated only because Prahlada decided to call Narasimha. Narasimha Bhagavan didn't come because Hiranyakashipu was doing atrocities. He came because Prahlada called him to come, right? Because of which Hiranyakashipu got liberated, or liberated in the sense his end of the life came, right? So he says similarly, there is an influence of you over your father or family members in general, but he's giving examples of fathers, saying that because of you, your family members will also get benefit, because if they are attached to you, that is the example of again bringing that satsangam. He's saying, right, he says your father, the people are saying that your father Vena, although he was so atrocious, he also got benefits because he was attached to you. So he also gets something, just like how Hiranyakashipu got liberated, or he saved from the second other, got rid of this birth because he was attached to Prahlada. So he says that is very important to stay around people. That satsangam is very important. Stick around people, who are very doing the right things. Anyway, with this chapter comes to an end. So he's essentially wrapping up by talking about how they need to do, and this chapter comes to an end. The next one, he will go meet the Sanat Kumaras, right, which is the second last part of it. Okay, all right, perfect timing. All right, so we'll see who, Gomati Atte, you can be a student. I saw her. Okay, she's logged out. I thought I saw her earlier. Okay. Okay, Priya Sriram, you can be a student, and Ramesh, you can be a student. So we'll do from 27. Asti yajna patir nama, comma, keshanchit arha sattamaha. Just breaking at the da. Keshanchit arha sattamaha. Iha mutra cha lakshyante, comma, jyotsnavatyah क्वचित् भुवः अस्ति यज्ञपतिर्नाम केषाञ्चित् अर्हसत्तमाः इहामुत्र च लक्ष्यन्ते ज्योत्स्नावत्यः क्वचित् भुवः
अस्ति यज्ञपतिर्नाम केषाञ्चित् अर्हसत्तमाः इहामुत्र च लक्ष्यन्ते ज्योत्स्नावत्यः क्वचित् भुवः
अस्ति यज्ञपतिर्नाम कोशाञ्चिदर्हसत्तदात्मा इहामुत्र च लक्ष्यन्ते ज्योत्स्नावत्यः क्वचित् भुवः.
And the first line after the comma, keshanchit.
Koshan's only, no? Okay.
Yeah, keshanchit, yeah.
Keshanchit sitarhasattatma
मनोर उत्तान पादस्य, comma, ध्रुवस्यापि महीपतेः प्रियव्रतस्य राजर्षेः. The ra goes away, visarga comma, rajarshehe. Next word starts with the a. Angasyasmat pituh pituhu. मनोरुत्तानपादस्य ध्रुवस्यापि महीपतेः प्रियव्रतस्य राजर्षेः अंगस्यास्मत्पितुः पितुः.
मनोरुत्तानपादस्य ध्रुवस्यापि महीपतेः प्रियव्रतस्य राजर्षेः अङ्गस्यास्मत्पितुः पितुः.
मनोरुत्तानपादस्य ध्रुवस्यापि महीपतेः प्रियव्रतस्य राजर्षेः अङ्गस्यात्मत्पितुः.
ईदृशानां, breaking at that ma, athan yesham, again breaking at that ma, comma, athan yesham, ajasya cha bhavasya cha, prahladasya baleshchapi, comma, krityamasti gadabrita. ईदृशानाम् अथान्येषाम् अजस्य च भवस्य च प्रह्लादस्य बलेश्चापि कृत्यमस्ति गदावृथा.
ईदृशानामथान्येषाम् अजस्य च भवस्य च प्रह्लादस्य बलेश्चापि कृत्यमस्ति गदाभृता.
ईदृशानाम मतास्न्येषाम् अजस्य च भवस्य च प्रह्लादस्य बलेश्चापि कृत्यमस्ति गदाभृता.
दौहित्राधीनृते मृत्योः, शोच्यान् धर्म विमोहितान् वर्ग स्वर्गापवर्गानां, प्रायेनैकात्म्य, one word, प्रायेनैकात्म्य हेतुना. दौहित्राधीनृते मृत्योः शोच्यान् धर्म विमोहितान् वर्ग स्वर्गापवर्गानां प्रायेनैकात्म्य हेतुना.
दौहित्रादीनृते मृत्योः शोच्यान् धर्म विमोहितान् वर्गस्वर्गापवर्गाणां प्रायेणैकात्म्यहेतूनाम्.
दौहित्रातीन्द्रुते मृत्योः शोचान् धर्म विमोहितान् वर्गस्वर्गापवर्गाणां प्रायेण कथम्य हेतुना.
The last one, प्रायेनैकात्म्य हेतुना.
प्रायेनैकात्म्य हेतुना. Okay, नै प्रचुर. Thank you.
यत् पाद सेवाभिरुचिस् तपस्विनां, breaking at that ma, im, तपस्विनां अशेष जन्मोपचितं मलं धियः Sadyah. So say that visarga. Sadyah. Kshinotyanvaham. Breaking at that ma. Kshinotyanvaham edhati sati, comma. Yatha padangushta vinisrita sarit. यत्पादसेभाभिरुचिस्तपस्विनाम् अशेषजन्मोपचितं मलं धियः सद्यः क्षिणोत्यन्वहमेधति सति यथा पदाङ्गुष्ठविनिसृता सरित्
यत्पादसेवाभिरुचिस्तपस्विनाम् अशेषजन्मोपचितं मलं धियः सद्यः क्षिणोत्यन्वहमेधति सति यथा पदाङ्गुष्ठविनिसृता सरित्
यत्पादे सेवापिरुषस्तपस्विनाम् अशेषा जन्मपोपचतितं
जन्मोपचितम्
जन्मोपचितं मलं तियः सत्यक्षणेत् यन्वः मोतति सति यथा पाताङ्कुष्ठविनिश्रिता सरित्.
And the second line, first word, sadhyaha, that visarga sound will come.
Sadhyaha.
And then adkaparan anvaham edhati. I think you said odhati. So edhati sati.
Anvaham
edhat. And the sade line, kshinotyanvaham edhati sati.
Kshinotyanvaham
edhati sati. Yeah. Binir-dhutashesha manomalah puman, breaking at that na, in, comma, asanga vijnana vishesha viryavan, yadangri mule krita ketanah punaha, put a visarga, comma, next word that ir goes away, na samsritim klesha vaham prapadyate. Vinhirdhutasesha manomalah puman, asanga vijnana vishesha viryavan yadangri mule kritaketanah punaha na samsritim klesha vaham prapadyate.
विनिर्धुताशेषमनोमलः पुमान् असङ्गविज्ञानविशेषवीर्यवान् यदङ्घ्रिमूले कृतकेतनः पुनः न संस्मृतिं क्लेशवहां प्रपद्यते.
विनिर्तताशेषमनोमलपुमां न शङ्गविज्ञानविशेषवीर्यवान् यदङ्घ्रिमूले कृतकेतनः पुनः न संसृतं क्लेशवहां प्रपद्यते.
Second line, na samsritim, after the comma.
न संसृतिं.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
न संसृतिं क्लेशवहां प्रपद्यते.
Tameva yuyam bhajatatma vrittibihi, comma, visarga, comma. Next word ir goes away. Mano vachah kaya gunais swakarmabihi amayinah kama dugangri pankajam, comma. Yathadhikara vasitartha. Cannot break that word. So one long word. Yathadhikara vasitartha siddhayaha. Tameva yuyam bhajatatma-vrittibihi mano vachah kaya gunaiswakarmabihi amayinah kama dugangri pankajam yatadhikara vasitartha siddhayah.
तमेव यूयं भजतात्मवृत्तिभिः मनोवचः कायगुणैः स्वकर्मभिः अमायिनः कामदुगाङ्घ्रिपङ्कजं यथाधिकारावसितार्थसिद्धयः.
तमेव भूयं भजतात्मवृत्तिभिः मनोवचः कायगुणैः स्वकर्मभिः अमायिनः कामदुःखाङ्गरी पङ्कजं यदाधिकारवसितार्थसिद्धयः.
And the first line, second word mattum tameva yuyam.
Bhuyam sunena.
Yeah, bhuyam yuyam. Yeah. So, like some of these things, right? It's easy for us to say. He says, manaha, vachaha, kaya, gunaihi. Mano, mind, word, speech, vacha. Then gunaihi, your behavior. He says, all of that, you should always be thinking about Bhagavan because, otherwise you are just building karma, right? It's a very simple thing, right? You can just test it for yourself, because I tested it for myself, right? One day, when you're not praying or when you're not in a class like this and you're just traveling, right? Let's say you're sitting in a train and you're going, you just think all the thoughts that come in your mind, right? You look at people, you have some thought. You look at some things, you have some thought. Every thought generates a karma, right? And then you start thinking, no wonder it's like we're definitely guaranteed another birth, because every thought you might be looking at somebody and saying, oh, that person is not dressed properly today. Something is wrong, right? They're not wearing matching clothes, or this person is looking too fat, or whatever the thoughts come to your mind, right? Your mind is so uncontrollable. You're always thinking, even when you're seeing reels on your phone, which I do a lot, right? Every reel you see, you are having a thought that's coming to your mind, right? And that's a reaction that you're putting out to the universe, which means that you are generating a karma, unless it's a very positive thought you're putting out to the universe, which most of the time it's not. So that's why here he says very nicely that the only way out is you got to be always like thinking about Bhagavan, because then you're not thinking anything negative, right? At least for this 90 minutes we do the class, we are not getting distracted with other things and you're focused on this, so which means you're not generating any negative karma. But it's very hard. It's easy to say always think about it, but it's so hard, I'm saying.
ராஜேஷ் கிளாஸ்
Rajesh,
மிடில்ல கூட ரீல்ஸ் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன் ராஜேஷ்.
Rajesh, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when did we actually start our karmas? Is there any indication anywhere in the Puranas?
So see,
cyclical.
Yeah. See, when you are born as and there are going to be some stories which are going to come, right? Puranjano Pakyanam is going to come, and Jada Bharata Charitram is going to come, where they're going to talk about it a little bit more detail about it. But for example, if you are born as a lion, as an example, right? You're not going to get any bad karma for killing a deer. Okay, so that karma will not exist at that point, because that is how you live. If you do not kill a deer and eat, you cannot survive, right? So you do not get a negative karma as a lion for killing a deer. Majority of the times, it's only when your intellect is kicking in, right? So for humans, right, we have our mind, and then we have our intellect, right? The mind is telling that I like sweet, I don't like sweet, I'm seeing something, I like it. All of that is decided by my mind, right? The mind is controlling everything related to the senses. Then there is an intellect which is sitting on top of it, which says whether I should act or not, right? So I'm seeing something, I'm liking it, I want to eat some sweet. My mind is telling, Rajesh, you like the sweet, you got to go eat the sweet. But my intellect can stop me and say, do not eat that sweet because you're going to gain weight. So whenever that intellect comes to you, which primarily comes in the Manushya Janma, not when you're in an animal Janma, then you start building karmas primarily, according to me. Because otherwise, if in the rest of the time, when you do not have that intellect, right, you cannot generate any karmas at that point, because it's now you have no choice, but you are deciding to do what you're doing, right? For an animal, killing an animal is just part of its lifestyle. It has no other choice. So that's my guess, Amuchechi. But
Okay. Thank you.
Sometimes, like, the cat doesn't kill the rat right away. It just plays with it, make it hurt, and then kill. That will produce bad karma, right?
yeah, maybe, yeah. If the cat, so generally the killing is only allowed if that is what you need to survive to eat or to protect yourself. Like a cat, if it kills a mouse to eat, it doesn't come as negative karma for it, because that is the cat's just inherent behavior, right? A snake is going to eat a rat. It's always its inherent behavior, right? That's what Kalia will also say. So those things not, but if you intentionally, if one of the animals does something to hurt or to think, which majority of the time they don't have. Some of the animals have intellect, right? Not all animals have intellect. So I'm assuming there is some line there.
Are doing that, I guess, because
What is
they
it?
don't. They maybe domesticated ones are doing that because they don't need to. They are not in need for that food, right?
Correct. So to the answer question, I don't know exactly where that karma starts getting added, but definitely from the time you become a human, the karma is definitely getting added. Because everything that you are doing, you are intentionally doing something, right? Or you could have controlled not doing something, right? That's the problem. No.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, okay, we did 33, right? Asavihaneka gunodhvaraha, comma, पृथक विध द्रव्य गुण क्रियोक्तिभिः संपद्यते तार्षय linga namabihi, visarga comma, and the is goes away. Vishuddha vijnana ghana swarupatah. असाविहानेक गुणो गुणोद्वरः पृथक् विध द्रव्य गुण क्रियोक्तिभिः संपद्यते तार्शयलिङ्गनामभिः विशुद्ध विज्ञान घन स्वरूपतः.
असाविहानेक गुणो गुणोध्वरः पृथक् पृथक् विध द्रव्य गुणक्रियोक्तिभिः संपद्यतेऽर्थाशयलिङ्घनामभिः विशुद्धविज्ञानघनस्वरूपतः.
असाविहानो गुणो गुणोत्वरः पृथक् विध द्रव्य गुण क्रियोक्तिभिः संपद्यतेऽर्थास्य लिङ्गनामभिः विशुद्ध विज्ञानगणस्वरूपतः.
प्रधान कालाशय धर्म संग्रहे शरीर एष प्रतिपद्य चेतना क्रिया फलत्वेन विभुर्विभाव्यते यथा नलो दारुषु तद्गुणात्मकः. प्रधानकालाशय धर्म संग्रहे शरीर एष प्रतिपद्य चेतनां क्रियाफलत्वेन विभुर्विभाव्यते यथा नलो दारुषु तद्गुणात्मकः.
प्रधानकालाशय धर्मसङ्ग्रहे शरीर एष प्रतिपद्य चेतनां क्रियाफलत्वेन विभुर्विभाव्यते यथा नलो दारुषु तद्गुणात्मकः.
प्रधानकालस्य धर्मसङ्ग्रहे शरीर एष प्रतिपद्य चेतनां क्रियाबलत्वेन विभुर्विभाव्यते यथा नलो दारुषु तद्गुणात्मकः.
So yatha analo, so anala is referring to fire. So just like how fire is going to look different depending on whichever wood is burning, right? The fire is always the same, but then depending on which type of wood it is burning, it might take different color, it might take different shape and all of that stuff, right? So he again says that while you can pray to different types of Bhagavan and different types of forms and shapes of all of that, at the end of the day, just like how fire is always consistent, that Bhagavan is always only one primary source, but it takes different color and forms and shapes depending on the various combinations or different reasons. Aho mamami vitarantynugraham, harim gurum yajna bhujam adishwaram swadharma yogena yajanti mamakaha. So add a visarga, mamakaha. Nirantaram kshonitale dridavrataha. अहो ममामि वितरन्त्यनुग्रहं हरिं गुरुं यज्ञभुजामधीश्वरं स्वधर्मयोगेन यजन्ति मामकाः निरन्तरं क्षोणितले दृढव्रताः.
अहो ममामि वितरन्त्यनुग्रहं हरिं गुरुं यज्ञभुजामधीश्वरं स्वधर्मयोगेन यजन्ति मामकाः निरन्तरं क्षोणितले दृढव्रताः.
अहो ममामि वितरन्त्यनुग्रहं हरिं गुरुं यज्ञभुजामधीश्वरं स्वधर्मयोगेन यजन्ति मामकाः निरन्तरं शोणितले दृढव्रताः.
I will just switch here. Aarti, you can be a student, and Satya, you can be a student. Ma jatu tejaf prabhaven mahardhibihi, that is goes away, visarga comma. Titikshaya tapasa vidyaya cha dedipyamane devatanam, kule swayam raja kula dvijana. So here is where he starts talking about the dvijas, which are the brahmanas, and also about the Vaishnavas. Ma jatu tejaf prabhaven mahardhibihi तितिक्षया तपसा विद्यया च देदीप्यमाने जितदेवतानां कुले स्वयं राजकुलाद्विजानाम्.
मा जातु तेजः प्रभवेन्महर्दिभिः तितिक्षया तपसा विद्यया च देदीप्यमाने जितदेवतानां कुले स्वयं राजकुलाद्विजानाम्
मा जातु तेजप्रभवेन्महर्दिभिः स्थितिक्षया तपसा विद्यया च देदीप्यमाने जितदेवतानां कुले स्वयं राजकुलाद्विजानाम्
ब्रह्मण्य देवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच् चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवाप लक्ष्मीम् अनपायिनीं यशो जगत् पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणीः ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवाप लक्ष्मीम् अनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणीः
ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीम् अनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणीः
ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीम् अनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणीः
यत् सेवयाशेष गुहाशयस्वराड् विप्र प्रियस्तुष्यति काममीश्वरः तदेव तद्धर्म परैर्विनीतैः सर्वात्मना ब्रह्म कुलं निषेव्यताम्. Just saying that those two, the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, were very dear to the God. So, because they are very close to Bhagavan, Bhagavan is also likes them the most, or more closer to them. यत्सेभयाशेषगुहाशयस्वराड् विप्रप्रियस्तुष्यति काममीश्वरः तदेव तद्धर्मपरैर्विनीतैः सर्वात्मना ब्रह्मकुलं निषेव्यताम्.
यत्सेवया शेषगुहाशयस्वराड् विप्रप्रियस्तुष्यति काममीश्वरः तदेव तद्धर्म परैर्विनीतैः सर्वात्मना ब्रह्मकुलं निषेव्यताम्
यत्सेवया शेषगुहाशयस्वराड् विप्रप्रियस्तुष्यति काममीश्वरः तदेव तद्धर्मपरैर्विनीतैः सर्वात्मना ब्रह्मकुलं निषेव्यताम्
पुमाल् लभेतानति वेलमात्मनः प्रसीदतोत्यन्त क्षमं स्वतः स्वयं यन्नित्य संबंध निषेवया ततः परम किमत्रास्ति. In case your book have kimatrastim, then remove the im there. Param kimatrasti mukham havir bhujam. So, so the true thing of, they say feed the brahmanas, right? You feed. But again, like I said, it cannot be just because I'm wearing a puna, like qualify for that. But it says that the true brahmanas, like we say, the person who has control over the senses, who was maintaining the right things, because feeding them is equivalent to feeding Bhagavan, because you're just feeding Bhagavan through the mouths of the brahmanas and through the mouths of the Vaishnavas. So yeah, that's why I'm saying mukham havir bhujam, like offering things to them. पुमाल्लभेथानतिवेलमात्मनः प्रसीदतोऽत्यन्तशमं स्वतः स्वयं यन्नित्यसम्बन्धनिषेवया ततः परं किमत्रास्ति मुखं हविर्भुजाम्.
पुमाल्लभेदानतिवेलमात्मनः प्रसीदतोऽत्यन्तशमं स्वतः स्वयं यन्नित्यसम्बन्धनिषेवया ततः परं किमत्रास्ति मुखं हविर्भुजाम्
पुमाल्लभेतानतिवेलमात्मनः प्रसीदतोऽत्यन्तशमं स्वतः स्वयं यन्नित्यसम्बन्धनिषेवया ततः परं किमत्रास्ति मुखं हविर्भुजाम्
अश्नात्यनन्तः खलु तत्त्वकोविदैः श्रद्धाहुतं यन्मुख इज्यनामभिः न वै तथा चेतनया बहिष्कृते हुताशने पारमहंस्य पर्यगुः. अश्नात्यनन्तः खलु तत्त्वकोविदैः श्रद्धाहुतं यन्मुख इज्यनामभिः न वै तथा चेतनया बहिष्कृते हुताशने पारमहंस्य पर्यगुः
अश्नात्यनन्तः खलु तत्त्वकोविदैः श्रद्धाहुतं यन्मुख इज्यनामभिः न वै तथा चेतनया बहिष्कृते हुताशने पारमहंस्य पर्यगुः
अश्नात्यनन्तः खलु तत्त्वकोविदैः श्रद्धाहुतं यन्मुख इज्यनामभिः न वै तथा चेतनया बहिष्कृते हुताशने पारमहंस्य पर्युगुः
पर्यगुः लास्ट वर्ड
पर्यगुः
यद् ब्रह्म नित्यं विरजं सनातनं कॉमा श्रद्धा तपो मंगल मौन संयमैः समाधिना बिभ्रति हार्त दृष्टये कॉमा यत्रेदम् आदर्श इवावभासते यद् ब्रह्म नित्यं विरजं सनातनं श्रद्धा तपो मंगल मौन संयमैः समाधिना बिभ्रति हार्त दृष्टये यत्रेदमादर्श इवावभासते
यद्ब्रह्म नित्यं विरजं सनातनं श्रद्धा तपो मंगल मौन संयमैः समाधिना बिभ्रति हार्त दृष्टये यत्रेदमादर्श इवावभासते
यद्ब्रह्म नित्यं विरजं सनातनं श्रद्धा तपो मङ्गलमौनसंयमैः समाधिना बिभ्रतिहार्तदृष्टये यत्रेदम् आदर्श इवावभासते
तेषामहं पाद सरोज रेणुं put an im there comma आर्या वहेयाधि किरीटमाययुः यं नित्यदा बिभ्रत आशु पापं कॉमा नश्यत्यमुं सर्वगुणा भजन्ति. So, every great, like in Dhruva Charitram also, later in all the things also, they always, the one blessing they always ask for, even Prutu said is, I want to be in close association with your devotees and all of that, right? So here, Teshamaham pada is foot, Saroja is lotus, so lotus like feet, Renum means dust, right? So he says, I should always carry the dust or from the feet of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, like the definition, like we said, the right Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, right? Because he says they are so blessed because they are the ones who are closest. So that is the prayer he's saying. He says, all of you also, he's telling this to his citizens, right? He's saying, all of you also pray for that you're always surrounded and always in the company of all of those people, because then it's just, you do the right things, right? तेषामहं पादसरोजरेणुम् आर्यावहेयाधिकिरीटमाययुः यं नित्यदा बिभ्रत आशु पापं नश्यत्यहुं सर्वगुणा भजन्ति.
तेषामहं सरोजरेणुम् आर्या वहेयादिकिरीटमायुः यं नित्यदा बिभ्रत आशु पापं नश्यत्यमुं सर्वगुणा भजन्ति.
तेषामहं पादसरोजरेणुम् आर्यावहेयादिकिरीटमायुः यं नित्यदा बिभ्रत आशु पापं नश्यत्यमुं सर्वगुणा भजन्ति.
Rajesh,
Sorry.
1 second. The first line, the end, is it yuhu or yuhu?
You, not yuhu. It's only
Yuhu. When I say
yeah.
yuhu, yeah.
You and then a visarga. So
Kiritam
yeah.
Yuhu.
Yeah, because the word is ayuhu, life. So Kiritamayuhu. Gunayanam Sheeladhanam Kritagnyam, Vriddashrayam Sambrinatenu Sampadaha Prasidatam Brahma Kulam Gavam cha, Janardanas Sanu Charascha Mahyam. Gunhayanam Sheeladhanam Kritagnyam Vriddashrayam Sambrinatenu Sampadaha Prasidatam Brahma Kulam Gavam cha Janardanas Sanu Charascha Mahyam.
गुणायनं शीलधनं कृतज्ञं वृद्धाश्रयं संवृणतेऽनुसम्पदः प्रसीदतां ब्रह्मकुलं गवां च जनार्दनः सानुचरश्च मह्यम्
गुणायनं शीलधनं कृतज्ञं वृद्धाश्रयं संवृणतेऽनुसम्पदः प्रसीदतां ब्रह्मकुलं गवां च जनार्दनः सानुचरश्च मह्यम्
मैत्रेयो उवाच इति ब्रुवाणं नृपतिं कोम पितृदेवद्विजातयः तुष्टुवुर्हृष्टमनसः कोम साधुवादेन साधवः मैत्रेय उवाच इति ब्रुवाणं नृपतिं पितृदेवद्विजातयः तुष्टुवुर्हृष्टमनसः साधुवादेन साधवः
मैत्रेय उवाच इति ब्रुवाणं नृपतिं पितृदेव द्विजातयः तुष्टुवुर्हृष्टमनसः साधुवादेन साधवः
मैत्रेय उवाच इति ब्रुवाणं नृपतिं पितृदेवद्विजातयः
तुष्टुवुर्
हृष्टमनसः वा
तुष्टुवुर्हृष्टमनसः
तुष्टुवुर्हृष्टमनसः साधुवादेन साधवः
पुत्रेण जयते लोकान् इन् कोम इति सत्यवती श्रुतिः ब्रह्मदण्ड हतः पापो कोम यद्वेनोत्यरत tamah. So that word, the S symbol is there, so it comes together. So here it talks about putrena jayate. So because of the son, the benefits of, the son doing the good things, how it's going to influence the family around him. पुत्रेण जयते लोकान् इति सत्यवती श्रुतिः ब्रह्मदण्ड हतः पापो यद्वेनोत्यतरत्तमः
पुत्रेण जयते लोकान् इति सत्यवती श्रुतिः ब्रह्मदण्डहतः पापो यद्वेनोत्यतरत्तमः
पुत्रेण जयते लोकान् इति सत्यवती श्रुतिः ब्रह्मदण्डहतः पापो यद्वेनोत्यतरत्तमः
हिरण्यकशिपुश्चापि भगवन् निन्दयातमः विभिक्षुर् अत्यगात् सूनोः प्रह्लादस्यानुभावतः हिरण्यकशिपुश्चापि भगवन् निन्दयातमः विभिक्षुरत्यगात् सूनोः प्रह्लादस्यानुभावतः
हिरण्यकशिपुश्चापि भगवन्निन्दयातमः विभिक्षुरत्यगात् सूनोः प्रह्लादस्यानुभावतः
हिरण्यकशिपुश्चापि भगवन्निन्दयातमः विभिक्षुरत्यगात् सूनोः प्रह्लादस्यानुभावतः
वीरवर्य पितः पृथ्व्याः समास संजीव शाश्वतीः यस्येदृश्यच्युते one word यस्येदृश्यच्युते भक्तिः सर्वलोकैक भर्तरि वीरवर्य पितः पृथ्व्याः समा संजीव शाश्वतीः यस्येदृश्यच्युते भक्तिः सर्वलोकैक भर्तरि
वीरवर्यपितः पृथ्व्याः समा सञ्जीव शाश्वतीः यस्येदृश्यच्युते भक्तिः सर्वलोकैकभर्तरि
वीरवर्यपितः पृथ्व्याः समा सञ्जीव शाश्वतीः यस्येदृश्यच्युते भक्तिः सर्वलोकैकभर्तरि
अहो वयं हृद्य पवित्र कीर्ते त्वयैव नाथेन मुकुन्द नाथाः स य उत्तम श्लोक तमस्य विष्णोः विसर्गा नेक्स्ट वर्ड इर् गोस् अवे ब्रह्मण्य देवस्य कथां व्यनक्ति अहो वयं हृद्य पवित्र कीर्ते त्वयैव नाथेन मुकुन्द नाथाः य उत्तम श्लोक तमस्य विष्णोः ब्रह्मण्यदेवस्य कथां व्यनक्ति.
Rajesh, vayam hyadyan irukku.
Oh, sorry,
அது
Hedya.
ஹிருத்ய.
Yeah, not Hridya. Hedya only. Hedya only.
Hyadya.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Okay. Aho vayam hyadya pavitra-kirte tvayaiva nathena mukunda-nathaha ya uttama-shloka-tamasya vishnoho brahmanya-devasya katham vyanakti.
अहो वयं ह्यद्य पवित्रकीर्ते त्वयैव नातेन मुकुन्दनाथाः य उत्तमश्लोकतमस्य विष्णोः ब्रह्मण्यदेवस्य कथां व्यनक्ति.
We'll just switch last round. Priya Sri Kumar and Jay Sri Shankar can be student. Natyadbhutamidam nath, comma, tava jivyanuशासनम, one word, prajanurago mahatam, comma, prakrtih karunatmanam. नात्यद्भुतमिदं नाथ तवा जीव्यानुशासनं प्रजानुरागो महतां प्रकृतिः करुणात्मनाम्.
नात्यद्भुतमिदं नाथ तवा जीव्यानुशासनं प्रजानुरागो महतां प्रकृतिः करुणात्मनाम्.
नात्यद्भुतमिदं नाथ तव जीव्यानुशासनं प्रजानुरागो महतां प्रकृतिः करुणात्मनाम्.
अद्य न तमसः पारः इस् गोes away, विसर्ग कॉमा, त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो भ्राम्यतां नष्ट दृष्टीनां, कॉमा, कर्मभिर्दैव संज्ञितैः. अध्यनस्तमसः पारः त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो भ्राम्यतां नष्टदृष्टीनां कर्मभिर्दैवसंज्ञितैः.
अद्य नस्तमसः पारः त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो भ्राम्यतां नष्टदृष्टीनां कर्मभिर्दैवसंज्ञितैः.
अद्य नस्तमसः पारः त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो भ्राम्यतां नष्टदृष्टीनां कर्मभिर्दैवसंज्ञितैः.
नमो विवृद्ध सत्वाय, कॉमा, पुरुषाय महीयसे यो ब्रह्म क्षत्रमाविश्य, कॉमा, बिभर्तीदं स्वतेजसा. So the last few stanzas, everybody is praising Prithu, saying that, we are happy to be under your kingdom because, you are guiding us in the right path, right? Because otherwise, then, the leader is not following the right path and everybody else also starts doing all sorts of atrocities. So they thank him and praise him, that he's sharing his knowledge and then putting them also in the right path.
ராஜேஷ், 41ல அத்ய நஸ்த மசஃப் பாரஹ அங்க பாஸ் அப்படி பண்ணுமா இல்ல எப்படி?
ஆமாமா, அத்யனஸ்தமசः பாரஹ, that is goes away, visarga comma.
ஓகே, ஆல்ரைட்.
त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो. नमो विवृद्ध सत्वाय पुरुषाय महीयसे यो ब्रह्म क्षत्रमाविश्य बिभर्तीदं स्वतेजसा.
नमो विवृद्धसत्त्वाय पुरुषाय महीयसे यो ब्रह्मक्षत्रमाविश्य बिभर्तीदं स्वतेजसा.
नमो विवृद्धसत्त्वाय पुरुषाय महीयसे यो ब्रह्मक्षत्रम् आविश्य बिभर्तीदं स्वतेजसा.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे एकविंशोऽध्यायः.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे एकविंशोऽध्यायः.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे एकविंशोऽध्यायः.
अथ द्वाविंशोऽध्यायः. मैत्रेयो उवाच जनेषु प्रगृह्णत्स्वेवं, पृथुं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयः इष् goes away, विसर्गा कॉमा, मुनयः चत्वारस् सूर्यवर्चसः. मैत्रेयो उवाच जनेषु प्रगृह्णत्स्वेवं पृथुं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयः चत्वारः सूर्यवर्चसः.
मैत्रेय उवाच जनेषु प्रगृणत्स्वेवं पृथुं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयः चत्वारः सूर्यवर्चसः
मैत्रेयोवाच जनेषु प्रगृणत्स्वेवं पृथुं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयः चत्वारः सूर्यवर्चसः
तांस्तु सिद्धेश्वरान् राजा, Vyomno one word, it's Vyomno avatarato archisha, but the S symbol is coming, so the whole word comes together. Lokana papan kurvatya, sanugochashta lakshitan. Tamstu siddheshwaran raja, Vyomno vataratorchisha, Lokana papan kurvatya, sanugochashta lakshitan.
तांस्तु सिद्धेश्वरान् राजा व्योम्नोऽवतरतोर्चिषा लोकान् पापान् कुर्वत्या सानुगोचष्टलक्षितान्
तांस्तु सिद्धेश्वरान् राजा व्योम्नोऽवतरतोर्चिषा लोकान् पापान् कुर्वत्या सानुगोचष्टलक्षितान्
Second line, first word, Lokana papan, and Lokana apapan becomes.
लोकान् पापान्.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Tad darshanot gatan pranan, pratyaditsur ivottitaha, just breaking at the tree, ivottitaha, sa sadasyanugo vainyaha, add a visarga there, vainyaha, indriyesho gunaniva. तद्दर्शनोद्गतान् प्राणान् प्रत्यादित्सुरिवोत्थितः स सदस्यानुगो वैन्यः इन्द्रियेषु गुणानिव.
तद्दर्शनोद्गतान् प्राणान् प्रत्यादित्सुरिवोत्थितः सदस्यानुगो वैन्यः इन्द्रियेषु गुणानिव
तद्दर्शनोद्गतान् प्राणान् प्रत्यादित्सुरिवोत्थितः स सदस्यानुगो वैन्यः इन्द्रियेषु गुणानिव.
Gauravat yantritah. So the dhya sound you have there, breaking into it and a ya there. Gauravat yantrita sabhyah, prashrayanata kandharah, vidhivat pujayan chakre, Grihitadhyar hanasanan. Gauravat yantrita sabhyah prashrayanata kandharah vidhivat pujayan chakre grihitadhyar hanasanan.
Pujayan is in sound there.
Yeah, pujayan chakre.
Okay. गौरवाद्यन्द्रितः सभ्यः प्रश्रयानतकन्धरः विधिवत् पूजयाञ्चक्रे गृहीताध्यर्हणासनान्
गौरवाद्यन्त्रितः सभ्यः प्रश्रयानतकन्धरः विधिवत् पूजयाञ्चक्रे गृहीताद्यर्हणासनान्.
Grihitadhyar.
Sorry. Grihitadyarhanasanan. Thank you.
Tat pada shaucha salilaihi visarga, first ir on top of the ma goes away. Marjitalaka bandhanaha tatra shilavatam vrittam, breaking at that ma, acharan manayanniva. Tat pada shaucha salilaihi marjitalaka bandhanaha tatra shilavatam vrittam acharan manayanniva.
तत्पादशौचसलिलैः मार्जिताळकबन्धनः तत्र शीलवतां वृत्तम् आचरन् मानयन्निव
तत्पादशौचसलिलैः मार्जितालकबन्धनः तत्र शीलवतां वृत्तम् आचरन् मानयन्निव.
हाटकासन आसीनान्, स्व दिष्णेष्विव पावकान् श्रद्धा संयम संयुक्तः, प्रीतः प्राह भवाग्रजान्. हाटकासन आसीनान् स्वधिष्ण्येष्विव पावकान् श्रद्धा संयम संयुक्तः प्रीतः प्राह भवाग्रजान्
हाडकासन आसीनान् सुधिष्ण्येष्विव पावकान् श्रद्धा संयम संयुक्तः प्रीतः प्राह भवाग्रजान्
हाटकासन आसीनान् स्वधिष्ण्येष्विव पावकान् श्रद्धा संयम संयुक्तः प्रीतः प्राह भवाग्रजान्
पृतुरुवाच अहो आचरितं किं मे मङ्गलं मङ्गलायनाः यस्य वो दर्शनं ह्यासीद् दुर्दर्शानां च योगिभिः पृतुरुवाच अहो आचरितं किं मे मङ्गलं मङ्गलायनाः यस्य वो दर्शनं ह्यासीद् दुर्दर्शानां च योगिभिः
पृथुरुवाच अहो आचरितं किं मे मङ्गलं मङ्गलायनाः यस्य वो दर्शनं ह्यासीत् दुर्दर्शानां च योगिभिः
पृथुरुवाच अहो आचरितं किं मे मङ्गलं मङ्गलायनाः यस्य वो दर्शनं ह्यासीद् दुर्दर्शानां च योगिभिः
किं तस्य दुर्लभतरं इह लोके परत्र च यस्य विप्राः प्रसीदन्ति शिवो विष्णुश्च सानुगः किं तस्य दुर्लभतरम् इह लोके परत्र च यस्य विप्राः प्रसीदन्ति शिवो विष्णुश्च सानुगः
किं तस्य दुर्लभतरम् इह लोके परत्र च यस्य विप्राः प्रसीदन्ति शिवो विष्णुश्च सानुगः
किं तस्य दुर्लभतरम् इह लोके परत्र च यस्य विप्राः प्रसीदन्ति शिवो विष्णुश्च सानुगः
नैव लक्षयते लोको लोकान् पर्यटतोऽपि यान् यथा सर्वदृशं सर्वे I think if my book has sarva we have to change it to sarve आत्मानं येस्य हेतवः नैव लक्षयते लोको लोकान् पर्यटतोऽपि यान् यथा सर्वदृशं सर्वे आत्मानं येस्य हेतवः
नैव लक्षयते लोको लोकान् पर्यटतोऽपि यान् यथा सर्वदृशं सर्वे आत्मानं येस्य हेतवः
नैव लक्ष्यते लोको लोकान् पर्यटतोऽपि यान् यथा सर्वदृशां सर्वे आत्मानं येस्य हेतवः
Jayshin, the first line, second word, lakshayate.
வேற மாதிரி சொன்னேன்
I think
நைவ
you said lakshyate.
லக்ஷயத்தே
Yeah, you said
லக்ஷ்யத்தே
lakshayate.
சொன்னேன்
Yeah, you said lakshayate. Yeah.
ஆப்ஷன் ஓகே சாரி
Adhana apite dhanyaha, sadhavo griha medhinaha, yad griha hyarha varyambu, trina bhumishwaravaraha. अधना अपि ते धन्याः साधवो गृहमेधिनः यद्गृहा ह्यर्हवर्याम्बु तृणभूमीश्वरावराः
अधना अपि ते धन्याः साधवो गृहमेधिनः यद्गृहाह्यर्हवर्याम्बु तृणभूमीश्वरावराः
ராஜேஷ் அந்த செகண்ட் லைன் செகண்ட் வேர்ட் எப்படி சொல்வேன் ஹியர் ஹவர் யாம்புவா
இல்ல ह्यर्हवर्याम्बु
ஹியர் ஹவர் யாம்பு ஓகே
yeah
अदना अपि ते धन्याः साधवो गृहमेधिनः यद्गृहा ह्यर्हवर्याम्बु तृणभूमीश्वरावराः करेक्ट
yeah Vyalayat druma vai. So this one you might have, there are two versions of this. So one of some books may have tepya rikta, ip and ya, that's one way. Or some books may have teshu, so I don't know which version you have, but what we'll stick to is that ip and a ya, the a, ip and a ya, we're just going to break it into a p. So Druma Vaitepi, comma. Okay, that ip and ya, that thing goes away. So tepi, comma. Next word will start with the a. Ariktakila sampadaha. Okay, so Vyala Druma Vaitepi, comma. Ariktakila sampadaha. Yad grihas tirtha padiya, put a plus. Pada tirtha vivarjitaha. व्यालालयद्रुमा वैतेऽपि अरिक्थाखिलसम्पदः यद्गृहास्तीर्थपादीय पादतीर्थविवर्जिताः
व्याळालयद्रुमा वैतेऽपि अरिक्ताखिलसम्पदः यद्गृहास्तीर्थपादीयपादतीर्थविवर्जिताः
व्यालालयद्रुमा वैते एङ्गकाम्
तेऽपि
व्यालालयद्रुमा वैतेऽपि अरिक्ताखिलसम्पदः यद्गृहास्तीतपादीय पादतीतविवर्जिताः
स्वागतं वो द्विजश्रेष्ठाः आडविसर्ग कॉमा यत् व्रतानि मुमुक्षवः चरन्ति श्रद्धया धीराः again आडविसर्ग बाला एव बृहन्ति च स्वागतं वो द्विजश्रेष्ठाः यद्व्रतानि मुमुक्षवः चरन्ति श्रद्धया धीराः बाला एव बृहन्ति च
स्वागतं वो द्विजश्रेष्ठाः यद्व्रतानि मुमुक्षवः चरन्ति श्रद्धया धीराः बाला एव बृहन्ति च
स्वागतं वो द्विजश्रेष्ठाः यद्व्रतानि मुमुक्षवः चरन्ति श्रद्धया धीराः बाला एव बृहन्ति च
We'll do one more and stop. Kachinnah kushalam nathaha. Again, add a visargan comma. Nathaha. Indriyarthartha vedinam. One word. Indriyarthartha vedinam. Vyasanavapa etasmin, comma. Patitanam swakarmabhihi. Kachinnah kushalam nathaha. Indriyarthartha vedinam. व्यसनावाप एतस्मिन् पतितानां स्वकर्मभिः
कच्चिन्नः कुशलं नाथाः इन्द्रियार्थार्थवेदिनां व्यसनावापयेतस्मिन् पतितानां स्वकर्मभिः
कच्चिन्नः कुशलं नाथाः इन्द्रियार्थार्थवेदिनां व्यसनावाप एतेऽस्मिन् पतितानां स्वकर्मभिः
The second line just before the comma etasmin
व्यसनावाप एतस्मिन्
yeah
Thanks.
just a couple minutes sorry go ahead you made a question
ராஜேஷ் அப்ப வந்து இந்த பாகவதத்துல அது கரெக்டா அந்த கிரானிக்கல் ஆர்டர்ல அதெல்லாம் சொல்லலையா
இல்ல
அப்படின்ட்டு
இல்ல ஆமா because என்னன்னாக்கா இதுல வந்து see because he's talking about one particular story right that the sequence is going on so in the what Hiranyakashipu பத்தி அப்புறமா தான் கேப்பா you know like he only asks about it later so அதனால that all of those stories come later so when you actually look at the sequence right so the Hiranyaksha vadam Varaha avataram is happening right and then the Daksha Prajapati Charitram we saw already, right? So that is happening, that is after that. Then immediately the Hiranyakashipu Prahlad Narsimha Avataram actually happens after that. But that is said later. Naman Padil. That is the 6th Skandathila தான் வரப்போகுது பின்ன அதுக்கப்புறம் the Dhruva Maharaja comes in sequence properly. Dhruva Maharaja comes, Venu, King Bena comes, Prithu comes, all of that happens in sequence. The only thing which just went a little bit out of sequence is Narasimha Avataram. That comes later. Because in the Hiranyakshan Vadam Mudinja Udana, then Hiranyakashipu gets triggered, then he goes and does penance and all of that stuff. So that thing kind of flows in that sequence, but it is said later, you know, because just because of how the conversation is going, because he picks up Swayambhuva Manu and goes through that lineage first. Then he's going to pick Priyavrata and then go through his lineage, right? So he finishes that thing entirely before he goes to the next one.
Thank you, Rajesh. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No worries. No, that's fine. I'll just tell the meaning of this in the next class anyway. It's only a few minutes left, right? So we'll end it here. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Kahena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaayeti Samarpayami. Thank you. Thanks for adjusting the time also.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thanks, Rajesh. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye, everyone.